Hey, I'm your host, TheDoctorDanko, come on in. You've been missing out, so let's begin. Pumpkin_crumb is your host here too. When you hear the beat, you know what to do. Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me now? Why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me? Hey. Good evening and welcome to Why Did Not You Warn Me? I'm your host, Matthew, the Dr. Danko.
And I'm Hillary. I'm here too.
Yeah.
The other host. Co-host.
The co-host.
As we call it in the podcasting universe.
Yeah.
It's a technical term. Hi.
So, welcome. This new episode is sponsored by our new apartment.
Hey!
We are finally in Pittsburgh. You might be able to tell with how it just sounds. It's a little echoey in the headphones.
I thought it might be.
Because the walls are sparse and there's no furniture in here.
Matt hasn't decorated yet. We're not in our special new podcasting room because it's not ready.
Once I get the table in there and set it up, it'll be our official podcasting room. Right. Hopefully though, with all the noises that happen outside of in the apartment complex, hopefully that won't interfere with our podcasting.
We got woken up at roughly 6 a.m. to hear a woman screaming obscenities in the next building over.
I honestly think it was a teenager going to high school.
I was gonna say it sounded like a young woman.
Yeah.
I didn't get the thread of the conversation at all because I was half a fucking
Somebody
sleep.
was disrespecting her.
And it was
and
fucking
she wasn't
shit
having
and
it.
shit fucking and shitting and fucking. And
just all of it.
that was the majority of what I caught.
Yeah. So, I mean...
It was no good.
No. So, yeah, it is a little echoey. That should be fixed in the other room. We'll put up, the fleece blankets since we have 13,000 of them.
We do.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that and just the new show in general. It's not really
It's not a new show,
but
it's just a new apartment.
Yeah, I know. The new network and all that other shit is going to actually start happening now that we're in one location.
Right.
So that's super cool. I'm looking forward to that. I know you don't care that much about it because it's this is just something you're doing for me, but yeah,
that's all that matters.
That's super cool.
I just bring my sparkling personality here once a week, and you do the rest.
Yeah, exactly, and that's fine.
Right.
So what are we talking about this week?
So we have a whole list, but first, do you want to tell the people what pop culture thing you're into this week?
Oh.
It's been a bit of a week, though.
Yeah,
so.
I think I did the majority of my watching in the last few days of Williamsburg, since, we came to Pittsburgh, signed all our shit, and then had to go back to Williamsburg.
It's been a lot of driving. Also, you've been going to sleep before me, so you haven't had as much time to watch things. It's been weird,
because, normally, I typically just wait until you go to bed, and then queue up, whatever movie has been on my mind that week.
Right. And
then, I can't shut that. We'd lose our show. I was adjusting some settings on my computer. So I haven't really... I'm trying to think what the last thing I watched was. I know Swiss Army Man was the thing I watched 2 weeks ago, and then I ran out of room because I was talking about Batman.
Shocking.
I did watch some other shit.
Didn't you watch Tusk?
Oh, yeah, I rewatched Tusk. Okay, so
again,
fuck Swiss Army Man, because I want to talk about Tusk a little bit.
Sorry, Daniel Radcliffe. Someday we'll talk about that
Paul
glorious
Dano.
ass.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
In just every movie since Harry Potter.
Yeah, he's like, fuck, I'm not the boy who lived, I'm the boy who shows ass.
Or everything in the case of Equus.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's your turn. Just have thoughts and feelings about Daniel Radcliffe, which isn't what you're talking about. So.
No, but we can.
No, I don't want to. That's all I have to say.
Okay, well, so I rewatched Tusk, and I saw Tusk. I pre-ordered the tickets. I ordered it. I pre-ordered. Or no, I didn't pre-order. I don't have a DVD copy of it. I wanted one because I like having a physical copy, and sales are always a good thing. But I did buy it on iTunes the minute it became available. like at midnight it was available to watch. So I've seen it a bunch, but I decided to rewatch it because I think it was on our way either back to Williamsburg or to Pittsburgh. We listened to the episode of Smodcast, 259, The Walrus and the Carpenter. And it just got me thinking about the movie and like how, its creation. I'm super into, its conception, and just like hearing Kevin Smith talk about how that movie got made makes me want to make movies. And like that's I'm in this weird place where I don't really know what it is I want to do. Like I have this idea for like toy designing shit, and that would be super fun because that's a hobby of mine. But like movies kind of always sits in the back of my mind as like, that'd be really cool to do someday. But I never really like, it kind of was beaten out of me at Point Park, unfortunately. Just the way they set up their shit. And I didn't, because of certain circumstances, I didn't like fully dive into like the filmmaking process. And like there were a lot of friends that were like super into filmmaking. Like my friend Garrett, who now lives in LA and is doing shit like things that I could have been a part of that I didn't for certain reasons, and I just feel like I missed out in some ways. But that's another thing. It's just so with Tusk,
brown, no regrets.
with Tusk, it's such a cool idea that it was literally just a conversation that just happened organically because of this weird little ad on I think it was Canada. It might have been the UK, like a Canadian version of Craigslist, about a guy that was looking for a lodger in his home, and you can live there for free. But
I think it was the UK, actually.
It wasn't the UK?
Yeah.
Okay. It was on Gumtree.com, which it is literally the Craigslist of the UK then. But this lodger like had lived a long and fulfilling life, and happened to be stranded on an island for like just a couple months. And while he was there with no human contact, he befriended a walrus, which he named Gregory. And now that he was safe on land and everything like that, he had never found quite the same companionship that he had with this walrus. So he puts up this ad that you can live at my house rent-free. It's a big space. I don't need all of it. Like, you can live here. The only caveat is you have to wear this homemade walrus suit that I've constructed for at least 2 hours every day. And you can't respond when you're in the walrus costume in, like, human
English?
speech. Yeah. Well, yeah. I was like, what do they speak over in England? English.
Canadian.
Yeah. And so, like, you can find walrus sounds on YouTube, I believe, is in this ad. And it just captured the minds of Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier. And then they just get into, like, what the fuck? This is fucking weird. Like, this would be a great horror movie. And then they start, like, forming it all right there on the show. And then finally, they're like, hashtag walrus yes if you want to see this get made. Hashtag walrus no if not. And just fucking everyone was like walrus yes, because it's such a weird, creepy idea. Like,
because, I mean, I've listened to like 2 or 3 Smodcasts, and they have not all grabbed my attention. But that one, like, I don't even like horror movies, but just hearing them just egging each other on and just like trying to one-up each other with making this funny and weird and like something that could actually happen. Like, it's one of like the things that John Green says about how to have a successful life is to make cool stuff with your friends. Yeah. And like that Kevin conversation Smith was just the essence of that. Was they heard this like crazy thing and then made a fucking movie out of it.
Right. And like Kevin Smith's whole thing has been making a movie with his friends. Like he got to Mallrats, which was like after Clerks was picked up and released and everything, he was getting ready to do a sequel with an actual company, Universal, and they were like, this isn't about making movies with your friends. And he was like, what the fuck? Like, that's
why?
Yeah, but then he kept doing it, and like that's what he does. And then he, you know, gets all of the people on Twitter to be like, yes, we want to see this movie because it's just like nothing else like it. And Kevin Smith's like, if I want to see this walrus movie, I'm gonna have to fucking make this walrus movie because no one else is.
Lin-Manuel Miranda has said that too. Like, you have to find the thing that if you don't make it, it won't exist.
Yeah. And that's something, like, I've always had in the back of my mind.
Yeah,
like,
what's your
with projects,
thing?
like, there are things that I want to see happen, but I know they won't happen unless I do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, with a role model like Kevin Smith making a fucking walrus movie.
Because he wants to.
Yeah, just because he wants to. He wants to see what would happen. And, like, when he was, you know, he busted out the script for that one night. Well, not one night. It took several nights. But, you know, he gave it to his wife, Jen, to read. And she was like, this is fucking weird, but I want to see where it goes. Like, keep writing it. And, like, then he was, like, listening to the Fleetwood Mac album. I think it's Rumors is the one it's on, and the song Tusk was playing. So he's like, this is what it should be called, because The Walrus and the Carpenter, although that's the name of the Smodcast
It's very
episode.
Literary.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. And then every day he was just, what he says, he was pushing whimsy, like seeing what he could get done. And like, he found a location in North Carolina, because I watched all the featurette stuff after
Shocking.
I watched the movie.
And then memorized them. And
He wanted to film in North Carolina and a few other places because of tax breaks. But in North Carolina, there were 2 other television shows filming there. So he was able to cherry pick their crew so that he could use, like, not only their equipment, but crew members. And, like,
that's so cool.
Yeah, to make this film happen while he was shooting there. And, like, Justin Long's in the movie, Haley Joel Osment, Michael Parks, who, I don't know if you know who he is, but he's a pretty famous actor. He was in a lot of Quentin Tarantino stuff, which I know you don't really have an interest in.
Parks, not Park.
Michael Park. No, Michael Parks.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the guy playing Evan Hansen's dad on Broadway right now, I'm pretty sure is Michael Park. But
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, he passed away like last year.
So not the guy I thought.
Yeah, and it's just like, and if you watch the movie...
Not Evan Hansen's dad. Wow, that was really stupid. Connor's dad.
Well,
sorry.
His surrogate dad.
Right.
Yeah. I was with you. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's Evan's dad.
It's his dad.
Anyway. It's how to break in a glove, you know?
Yeah. The weirdest song on that album.
Really?
It doesn't...
No, it doesn't fit, but Good For You, I think, is the weirdest.
Okay. Yes, tonally.
Yeah. Tangent.
Yeah.
Coming back.
Yeah. So, you know, he's in the movie itself, though. Not only does he like round up this whole cast, and he cast Michael Parks specifically as the lodger because he just likes hearing Michael Parks monologue, and like he wrote a lot of shit to hear him say, and like the movie doesn't have a lot. Like, it doesn't go all over the place. It sort of stays in a few central locations. And they do pretty much stick with what they come up with on Smodcast. But the other cool thing is, like, if you're a fan of the Smodcast podcasts, not only Smodcast, but Hollywood Babylon, and Jay and Silent Bob Get Old, and I think even Tell 'em Steve Dave, episodes and jokes that they've done on that show, reoccurring shit sometimes, he threw into the movie.
Nice.
So like in Hollywood Babylon, they have that show split up into segments. So they have little like audio clips to lead into the other things. So he used that audio clip as like a ringtone in the movie, and like weird jokes that they've said. And
so he really he was making a movie that he wanted to make for people who really wanted it to be made.
And like
that's pretty fucking cool.
I know, and his whole thing with a lot of his movies is like, you know, the studios always want to grab the largest audience possible.
Right.
And with Kevin Smith movies, although, you know, the idea is, yes, you want to include everybody, but after making like your 4 movies in the Askewniverse, you're like, by the 5th one, I already know who's going to come to see these movies.
Right.
Like the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back movie is a very in movie if you've seen the other movies.
Okay.
So he makes it for that audience and doesn't give a shit about the other audience because, like, chances are you're not going to either get it or to like it because you haven't really been with him this far in the journey. So with this movie, although you could like it as a separate entity, like, because Tusk, it's as much as the in-jokes are like Force Modcast listeners. They don't take away from the story. They're just sort of cool tidbits and things like that.
The Marvel movies sort of do that.
Yeah,
like,
I would say. Yeah.
There's stuff for you if you've been there since the beginning, but it's not an impossible movie to watch if you're just jumping in.
It's like, that's cool. I recognize that.
Every comic is somebody's first.
Yeah,
is that
Stan
what it is?
Lee's
Yeah,
motto
Stan Lee, yeah.
Every comic book is somebody's first comic book.
And like, Kevin Smith, I have a hard time dealing with a lot of the stuff that he has created. But, like, listening to his podcasts, which we've done frequently because we've been driving a lot, I do fall asleep sometimes.
I understand. No.
Yeah. But his philosophy of life and of creating and being an artist, like, I really dig the way he talks about things, the way he thinks about the world. I mean, it's very cool to know who you are and what you're good at and what you want to be doing and how you want to be doing it. And it's very similar to what John Green says, just Kevin Smith is probably a little more R-rated.
Oh, for sure. But the other thing too is, like, if you listen to his Q&As from the beginning, like when he was making the Jay and Silent Bob movies versus his Q&As now, you can see his growth. And that's what Tusk is.
How can you see his growth if you're listening to it? Why do you want to see the man's growth, Matt?
Because I'm curious. He's ugly and I'm fascinated.
Rude.
Said that to you once.
Yeah, I know. It's on Facebook. One of our friends read it. Well, a person that we work with read it and then laughed so hard we heard him across the theater.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But he has grown as a filmmaker and as a storyteller.
Right.
And Tusk, regardless of if you like it as a concept or just its execution, what goes into it, and even stylistically, it is a growth of him as, it's very similar to Clerks, and sort of like the cameras, in Clerks, the camera sort of sat in one spot, let the actors act, and then cut to the next scene. Because Kevin Smith is all about dialogue.
Okay.
And this movie is very much the same way. I mean, he moves the camera a little bit more and makes it a little more stylish, but, the way he's getting information across and, the set dressing and things like that, there's a lot more to it. It's more substantial than Clerks was, but has the same sort of elements as Clerks had. And it's just a cool, because I've been with him, all the way, so I've seen every bit of work he's done.
And Tusk is also more of a concept, whereas Clerks was a story that Kevin Smith told about his friends and himself.
Yeah,
sort of.
Because he worked at Quick Stop.
And, write what you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But Tusk is a little farther out in left field.
Right.
Unless there's a lot of things that he's not telling people.
That would really
all we
blow
can
my
do
hair
is
back.
Speculate.
Yeah.
It would really blow your hair back? Is that what you just said?
What? That's an expression?
Oh, that's so cute.
Why?
It really just blows my hair back.
It really flips my flapjacks.
Oh, honey.
Look, I've seen all of everything he's ever done, from tits to teeth.
Yeah, I told my mom that was the thing. We're going to talk about that in a second. It's been a big week for us. We actually have a lot to talk about.
So that's just my tidbit on Tusk. We'll talk about Swiss Army Man some other time, but Tusk,
sorry, Danny Rad.
Listen, he's doing fine.
He'll be fine. He's Harry fucking Potter.
Right?
He's doing okay.
Boy who lived. But
go watch Tusk, maybe. I guess. I'm not going to.
Very curious to see Moose Jaws, the third movie in the True North trilogy. In Tusk, they show up at I don't know what the fuck that
ambient noises.
They show up at a convenience store in Canada, because it takes place in Canada. It's called the A to Z, and there are two girls working behind the counter: Kevin Smith's daughter Harley Quinn and Lily Rose Depp, who's Johnny Depp's daughter, who's also in the movie. Johnny Depp plays the detective.
Less interested.
Okay, but
we're not dealing with that right now. It's too much.
That's a different thing. But he decided, he wanted to make a movie with his daughter, because, he puts everyone in his movies.
And he decided to make it the one where a guy fucks a walrus.
Well, he doesn't fuck a walrus. That's
I haven't
never.
seen the movie. I don't know.
He sews another man into a walrus suit.
So the other man fucks the walrus.
Nobody gets fucked.
What?
But
what are we?
Justin Long, who does get sewn into the walrus costume, is a bit of an asshole. So you don't really feel that bad for him.
You're like, sew his mouth shut. Go, go, go.
No, he takes out his tongue, so he has to be a walrus, like all those noises and stuff.
Yikes.
Okay. I mean, you don't see it; it like jump cuts, but no, never mind. But anyways, so he makes his second movie, Yoga Hosers, around those two girls after they've in the paper they call them like these. They've saved the Manitoba manatee, and they're like, that wasn't a fucking manatee, it was a walrus. And like the whole movie is about them and fighting these these what they call Bratzies, which are bratwurst made Nazis.
I remember you telling me about this.
It's a really like only if you're high would the movie be good, or if you're of a young age, because it is a kids movie, sort of like a teenage movie. Like it's made for that audience.
Okay, it's we'll do Yoga Hosers next week.
Yeah, no, I know. But Moose Jaws is the third and final one that not only is Jaws, but with a moose, which is literally how he's pitched this movie. And the poster is like, I believe it's just a shark head, like it's the poster of Jaws, but with antlers. It's hilarious. And it takes place in Moose Jaw, Canada.
Sure.
Which is a real place. I don't know. You've been to Canada. I thought you might know that.
I've been to London, Ontario.
Well, there you go. But in the Moose Jaw movie, apparently it crosses over with the universe. So Jay and Silent Bob show up.
Nice.
And spoilers, but Silent Bob dies.
What?
He gets like eaten by the moose or some shit.
Yikes.
Like as an homage to Jaws.
Right.
So I haven't heard anything about that project. No. He has a lot of other projects going on, and I don't know if it's going to be made. He has the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back reboot thing happening. It's like a really meta reboot sequel of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, making fun of that shit. So we'll see, but I'll hand it over to you.
Real quick side note about the time that I went to London, because I just remembered the story. I had to cross the border, and I had my passport ready, and I was very nervous. And they took my fucking pepper spray, which was rude. But the guy asked where I was going, and I said, I'm going to London, and he was like, why?
What? What kind of, like, I know they're not sort of the welcoming committee, but they're the first people you show up to, like, in Canada.
And suddenly I'm defensive.
Were they Americans?
No, this is going into Canada. Yeah. This is Canadian customs. Shit. Well, because in Canada you can't have any weapons.
Right, because, in Canada,
so it wouldn't have been,
nice.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to see my friend who's in grad school. Sorry.
Did, like, they just confiscated it straight up? You didn't get, like,
they asked me if I had any, like, weapons. I'm like, no. And they were like, pepper spray? And it was on my keychain. Oh. And my keys are in the ignition. And I was like, I don't know if he can see it. But if I lie...
Could be worse.
Right. So, they made me park the car and go inside. Like, you're supposed to just be able to drive through. Yeah. It's like paying a fucking toll. Right. But I had to park the car and get out. And they fucking took my pepper spray. And they gave me a receipt. Not like you can come get this on the way back. But we took it. We took
Here's a document for you.
Here's a carbon copy.
Jesus. That doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah. It's just so bemused. Yeah. Like, all right.
That's super interesting.
I mean, I feel a little bit unsafe that I don't have my pepper spray, but at the same time, if nobody has weapons, then I guess I don't need it.
Yeah, like on Smodcast, they do a segment, sometimes, it's not all the time, but Scan BC, where they read the Twitter, the Scancouver Twitter account, which talks about all the crime happening in that area, and it's just all like delightful crimes. Like, of course there's like the stabbings and sometimes shootings, but like probably not as much as in the States.
Definitely not.
But like they pull the ones that like man runs into bakery and eats cake or something like that. Like,
oh, shit. Shucks.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So what have you been doing this week? I know you've finished.
I finally goddamn finished Cavalier and Clay.
Yeah.
Good book, delightful book. We also, at some point, went back to my storage unit and I changed out all of my books, which was great because I had just recently reread all of the ones that I had with me. So now I have a whole new stack.
You had like 30, 40 books,
I think I had like 60.
Shit.
And from the time we left for Utah in April until... What month is it? It's March. Until earlier this month.
Sort of.
Yeah, I had read all of them a couple of times.
Yeah.
And gotten some new ones and read them. So I changed out my books. So I have a bunch of books that I haven't had access to in a while. And I'm like a little bit embarrassed to say the one that I started with. No. I reread The Host by Stephanie Meyer. That's why I'm embarrassed.
Writer of the Twilight series.
Yep. And listen, I dug the Twilight books when they were first coming out. I went to the midnight release of the last book.
People like what they like.
Right. But like upon becoming a feminist more, those books are fucking awful. Bella Swan is useless. But we're not getting into Twilight. I reread The Host, which is actually, I mean, I like the book. I've read it a couple of times. It got made into a movie that I still haven't seen. We might watch at some point.
Yeah, I think the trailer way back when it was coming out. It was around the time of the Hunger Games, or like very close
Something
to it,
like
because
that,
I remember they were pretty close in their release, and I didn't end up seeing like the Hunger Games in the theater. I don't think
they were pretty good.
I loved them. But I for some reason chose that over The Host, even though The Host had this sort of like sci-fi tone to it.
Yeah. The Host is one of the ones where like I saw that the movie was being made, but I was the only one of my friends that had read the book, and by that point if I said Stephanie Meyer, that would be enough to turn everyone off.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen the movie. I also just forgot that it happened. But the premise of the book, it's told from the point of view the premise is that there are these creatures that on Earth are called souls, and they're parasites, basically. They're a couple of inches long, and they get inserted into humans and attach themselves and take the human body as a host.
Okay.
And then just like integrate themselves into society and live like their lives, and then the soul gets taken out and either sent somewhere else or put into another body. And where the book picks up, souls have almost completely taken over Earth. There are still pockets of resistance, but pretty much the souls are in control of everything.
Yeah.
And the book is told from the point of view of this soul called Wanderer. And Wanderer is unusual for a soul because she has lived on several different planets. Most of them settle. And Earth, I think, is her 7th planet. Most souls settle after like 3.
Okay.
She gets put into the body of a young woman named Melanie. And Melanie, we find out, was one of the humans that was part of the resistance, which becomes important because apparently the longer a host body has remained human, the more difficult it is for the soul to repress the original personality. So the way it's sort of phrased is they chose to put Wanderer in this particular body because she requested an adult host because she did not want to be a child again.
Okay.
And B, because they thought that with all of her life experience, she would be strong enough to be able to handle Melanie.
Yeah.
But it turns out that Melanie is too strong to be repressed. So instead of Twilight, where all of the women are useless, both of the women that are central to this story are, in essence, too strong to be controlled.
Interesting. So it's Dollhouse.
Basically.
I mean, similar ideas, but executed way differently.
Right. And shenanigans ensue. And some of it is like cringy, young adult novel-ish. Like there's a love triangle.
It's gotta be. Not only is it Stephanie Meyer, but it's a young adult novel.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a pretty interesting story. And I tore through the whole thing.
You seemed like you couldn't put it down.
I really couldn't.
Yeah.
And I'd read it several times.
So, like, that's super cool, though.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And I'm not going to spoil it because I do think that at some point you would enjoy reading it.
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept.
Yeah, it's sci-fi.
Yeah. I don't know if I should read the book first or watch the movie. Because, I mean, with me, normally... I mean, the way it goes is you read the book and then they make it into a movie and then you go see the movie and you're like, the book was way better.
Well, yeah.
For me, I mean, if I watch the movie, well, yeah, I can appreciate both. But if I see the movie first, it might let me understand what I'm getting into with reading the book. Because for me, you know, reading is hard. So sort of going into it with a basic understanding of how it's going to operate, even if it's drastically different, it might give me more incentive to like finish it.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, the host is about the size of Cavalier and Clay, but instead of it taking me 3 weeks, it took me 1 week where we also moved. So
yeah, that's true.
Like it's a much easier read. It's pretty quick. Like it's very light. Light in terms of like text.
Yeah.
And the story gets heavy at points. Just, you know, questioning what it means to be human. Blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's what I read. I finished that yesterday, and I started rereading Anna and the French Kiss, which is a terrible title and a wonderful book, and I'll tell you about it next week.
Okay. I don't know. I didn't know that's what you were reading next.
Yeah.
Another young adult novel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's delightful. I've read it several times. I love it. It's a feel-good book. For a while I had to stop reading it because it's a girl who falls in love with her best friend and he just doesn't know. He doesn't put it together. But then he does and they both do and it's perfect. And it just made me too sad to read it. But now that has happened to me, I'm looking forward to enjoying the book in a new light.
Okay.
Yeah. Thought you'd like that.
Yeah, no, I'm for sure interested in your thoughts on that. Sounds familiar.
I'm in favor, yeah. So we have a couple of things to talk about this week.
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to read the list and then we'll decide on an order, or if you want me to just pick the order.
Pick the order, because I can't read it.
Okay. The first thing we need to talk about is Doctor Who, and I picked that because it'll probably be quick.
Yeah, I don't know what we have to talk about it.
I just wanted to, update on progress.
Yeah. We were halfway through the series 2, right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I forgot we were watching that show.
We'll keep doing
because we got sidetracked by
moving.
Not even by moving, but by this other show.
2 other shows.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so Doctor Who, and we'll keep watching it, but yeah. I kind of stalled out, which is why we haven't been watching with as much vigor, I think. Because the problem that I'm having with season 2 is that there isn't yet much of a through line. Yeah. So we get all of these one-off episodes in a row. I also just, I can't fucking stand Rose. She's useless.
Yeah. She, I liked her the very first time I watched the show. I liked their relationship together. Upon rewatching it, she slowly kept going down on my list of favorite companions. Just repeatedly would continue to fall to the bottom of the pile. And then now I already know how useless she is. And she just does not grip me. I'm not interested in her. Billie Piper is a fine actress. I've seen her in a few other things, but she is useless as Rose. Her character is so frustrating because she'll say, the doctor opened my eyes and showed me that, you don't just have to sit, you can do something. And then whenever anything is happening, all she does is sit and oh no, maybe he'll save me or I'll die. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's in the Christmas episode, the Christmas invasion episode, where David Tennant's introduced, where she says, where we can't just be eating chips, shit's happening. The doctor is lying asleep. You can't just sit around and do nothing. We got to do something. Or maybe it's in the episode before that. And then, David Tennant as the doctor is out cold. So literally it's left up to everyone else. And it's well, the doctor can't do it. We're fucked. Well, fuck me, I guess. Let's go hide forever. Doesn't do anything. Nothing, which I have no patience for. And I'm trying to remember even when this season ends and we get a new companion, when she returns. Spoilers, like, fuck it. Because with everything on Tumblr,
her, so I don't care.
Exactly. Like, you're not really invested in her. I'm trying to think of how useful she is.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
okay.
It's hard for me to remember because it has been a while since I've rewatched the series, but also I like a lot of the other companions way more.
Right. And we'll get there. Like, we'll keep pushing through it. I
definitely want to get to Donna.
Right.
But that's also after Martha, and I really like Martha as well.
Right.
For some instances, like.
And I know you love Clara.
Yeah.
So we have to, like,
I do like Clara as a companion. A lot of people don't like her because, like, I see it all the time on Instagram, but it's pulled from Tumblr, where it's like, I like the days when companions could just be good on their own and they didn't need some long, drawn-out backstory to make them interesting. And it's like, yeah, but why not both?
Right.
Like, they're interesting in their own ways, but then there's this other mysterious thing that, like, you're working towards solving something. Mm-hmm. And with Clara, it's that, but I also think I'm attracted to her.
Oh, you totally are.
Because she's brown hair, brown eyes.
Which we have discovered is your type.
It is my type, yes.
With the exception of Hilary Duff, who's blonde.
Yeah, she's just a good person.
You know this.
She lives in Pittsburgh, I think. I don't know. She's married to a Pittsburgh Penguin, so whether I'm assuming... An
actual penguin, folks, at the zoo.
Yeah. Which you'll get to meet. So maybe you can strike up a why not conversation.
That'll be your in.
Yeah. I'll just blast in with a microphone. Why not?
Now you're going to get shy.
Take a crazy chance. Why not?
All right, this is not spoken word poetry.
Fine.
Anyway,
so that's Doctor Who. That's Doctor Who. Definitely, we're gonna finish it, but
yeah. All right, I've decided on an order. The thing that we're gonna talk about next is Matt dying.
It's happening quick.
You want a drink?
No, I'm good.
Okay. We watched the new Queer Eye in its entirety in like
we didn't even know we finished it.
And we were so sad when it was over.
Because they're interesting.
Because it's delightful.
Yeah. Like, it made me want to reconsider some things about my lifestyle.
Not about how he interacts with gay people.
How do I interact with gay people?
Pleasantly. It just sounded weird.
It also sounded like I was coming out as gay. Which is not the...
You said it made me want to reconsider some things.
No,
Trainwreck.
It's just like... Okay, so... Do you want to explain the basis of the show?
Sure.
Go for it.
So, it's a reality TV show. Yeah. The original Queer Eye, they sort of addressed at the beginning of this show, they said the original Queer Eye was about teaching tolerance. And this one is more about acceptance.
Yeah.
So it's these 5 gay guys that come into a straight guy's home.
Yeah.
And
I mean, not exclusively.
Oh, right. Yeah. They come into, yeah.
But majority.
Right. Majority.
Okay. How many syllables do I have to add?
They come into a man's home.
Yeah, it's always a man.
Right, so far.
Yeah, true.
And they just make over his whole life.
From tits to teeth.
Which we will get to in a second. That's last, because I think we have the most to say about it.
Oh, for sure.
So, each of the guys has a different specialty, and they just fix whoever they're working with. And the very first episode was this, like, overweight, rednecky guy who you're like, oh god, this is gonna be awful. Yeah. He doesn't want to talk to 5 gay guys for 20 seconds, let alone let them make life decisions for him. But they come in and they are overwhelming in how fast they're moving, how fast they're speaking, how incredibly gay they are. Yeah. And he just goes with it. And I didn't watch, I think I saw like 1 or 2 episodes of the old version of the show. I also don't watch a lot of reality TV, but what's very cool about this show is that, like, first of all, they meet the person that they're making over. They meet them. They don't try to make them into, you know, an image of what's popular in Vogue that week.
Right.
Like, so like one of the people they had was a dad of 3 or 4 kids who said that, you know, he didn't like spending a lot of money on clothes for himself. Yeah. So they took him to Target.
Yeah, like, they get to know the person that they're doing this makeover for. And sort of, you know, like they do keep in mind certain like trending styles or things like that. Right. But there's something line about like fashion isn't what's I wish I knew what the line was. It's like it's not what's trending, but it's like
it's what makes you feel your best. Yeah. I think he said he had no use for fashion. It was style. Style, that is what makes you feel like your best self.
Yeah. And so, like, each of these guys have a different specialty. There's one that focuses on, you know, the clothing and the look of you. There's one guy that focuses on, like, your hairstyle and beard and everything. And then there's a guy that focuses on your culture. One on...
food.
Food, culinary stuff. And
then one just rebuilds your house while everybody's out shopping.
So, like, most of these people have, like, either an apartment to themselves or a room to themselves, and shit's just, like, everywhere, or it's, like, not inviting for other people, and this dude will just come in and fucking repaint walls, add, like, panels. They took one kid out of the room that's next to his parents and put him in the basement and, like, remodeled the entire basement with a kitchenette and everything. Yeah. Like, put a lot of fucking work and money into it, so that's always I've always questioned, like, where do they get the money for these things? Interesting. But they really do make these people over, but still let them be who they are. Like, just be a better version of themselves.
Right, because all of these people that they encounter, they also have, like, social... I don't want to say, like, social issues, but, like, lack of confidence, lack of ability to... They're sort of, like... just not quite where they want to be. Yeah. So the guy whose job is culture tends to like sit down and have a conversation about how do you see yourself now? How would you like to see yourself? Yeah. And then just like figures out how to just give the person the push that they need to. Right. Like, it's so sweet. It's so good-hearted.
Yeah, I mean, they'll make jokes like at the beginning when they come into the place because there's shit everywhere. Right. One guy had this weird crusty recliner that like had napkins all over it and stuff, and it was just like, no woman wants to come back to your apartment with this. And there was like a stuffed mannequin like in the closet, like weird shit.
And they're just like, you know, holding the mannequin like it's a baby while they're talking about
having a conversation,
having a normal conversation.
And so like they do poke fun at the situation, but then like the rest of the episode they're just trying to like understand what they want and like listen to them, and like they're not making fun of them. They're more of laughing with them, and like, you know this is ridiculous, but you've been stuck in this sort of routine for a long time. It's so hard for you to break out, but we're here to help you do that. Yeah. And like, almost the minute they see themselves in the clothes that the guy picks out, their confidence goes up so much. Yeah. And like, they start opening up to the guys, like, they just get a better sense of like, these guys are more or less friends, and like, I'm in a safe place. Like, it's
a very gentle like nudging rather than here's a new outfit.
Yeah, it's not just like a day we're gonna take you out, give you all this shit, and send you back into your world. Because they do give them like steps and
like just instructions for how to keep it to keep it like a sustainable lifestyle. Yeah. So they're not just, you know, dumping some new stuff and walking away. It's very, like, so there's that part of it that's just wonderfully kind, and it's not, you know, saying you're garbage, let's fix it. There's a lot of good in here, let's accentuate that.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's the makeover part of it, but then there's also the social justice angle, where one of the people they make over is a cop. And this also takes place in Georgia.
Yeah.
Like around the Atlanta area. And the guy who does culture, I'm so sorry I don't know any of their names. I know that Anthony does food. That's all I know.
Which we called Simon for a long time.
Because he looks like a slightly more adult version of the kid in Love, Simon.
And the thing is, they put up the names every episode.
They do, and we just suck.
So we got Bobby Burke, who does the home makeover part.
Okay.
Karamo.
Okay.
Sorry.
He does culture.
He does culture.
Okay.
Kamaro Brown.
Does fashion style.
No. He does culture.
Karamo.
What did I say?
Kamaro?
Kamara. Oh, I can't read either. Say it again. Karamo. Karamo Brown does
I'm sorry,
culture.
Karamo Brown.
I'm so
We're
sorry.
trying.
I know. Tan is fashion.
Okay.
Anthony Porowski does food.
Okay.
And Jonathan Van Ness does hair.
Okay. So what I was saying
sorry.
is Karamo, who does culture, he's black. And so one of the episodes they were making over a cop in Georgia. And like at the beginning of the episode,
because there's always somebody who sort of sponsors or nominates somebody in their life to have this makeover done. So
and always the first scene of the episode is we see them driving to the house where they're going to meet this person. Yeah. So this episode, the cop who's being made over, his buddy who's also a cop, is the guy who nominated him. So the Fab Five, as they're called, are driving to this cop's house, and all of a sudden there are sirens behind them, and you can immediately see all five of them just tense. Mm-hmm. Karamo is driving, and like Anthony gets out his fucking phone, which you know you gotta do in this day and age because unfortunately cops kill black people. Right. Sweeping generalization, obviously, but it happens enough that you want to get your phone out. Yeah. But then it turns out that the cop that pulled them over is the guy who nominated the cop that they're going to make over. But so the whole episode just is kind of colored by that moment, because we find out that the cop they're making over is a Trump supporter, which is great. But
the lie.
It's terrible. It's gross. It made my skin crawl. I think I shrieked a little bit when we saw the sign.
Oh, yeah.
But so Karamo is having a conversation with this guy, trying to, you know, help him be his best self. And they're, I think, like in the car driving to meet one of the other guys. And Karamo says to this cop, like, I want you to know that I was hesitant. I've been very reserved with you this whole time because of, you know, all that's happening politically right now. And like they have this whole conversation where they're very open with each other and nobody is getting defensive and nobody's attacking. It's just it's a frank conversation that then, you know, they get to know each other and they're talking about their childhoods. And by the end of the episode, everybody is more at ease. Yeah. And it's not about who's right and who's wrong. It's about we're all people. And if, you know, let's help each other and love each other. And it's very cool. And there's stuff like that in almost every episode. It's not super heavy-handed, but it's there. Yeah.
Because they also do have one of the subjects is what they call them. I was looking at the IMDb thing. Is a pastor. So there's the whole idea that, you know, the church.
Homophobia in the church,
and the guy's like, I was taught Jesus loves everyone. So, like, that's what we believe. That's what this house believes, like, all this other stuff. So it is very much about, like, acceptance. And also, in the cop episode, like, that was how...
Karamo.
Okay, I got there. I just danced around it a little bit.
You did.
Was talking to the subject about, you know, how, you know, cops are scary. And the cop was like, I wish I knew his name. Yeah. I didn't list it on the thing I brought up, but was like, you know, just how, you know, people are afraid of cops. It's not all cops and all that other stuff, but like it happens enough that, you know, it's not a good thing, and like that's not who he is and that's not who his friends are, but like it's something that, you know, both sides need to be aware of. So it's like it's a weird, just basically like acceptance of all people and how like, yeah, I mean, you said it, I'm sort of just
I mean, it's very much like there are a lot of very bold dividing lines in society right now, and it's not about being on one side or the other. In this show, it's just about erasing the lines. Like, people want to be seen as people.
Well said.
Thank you.
That's why this show is called Why Did Not You Warn Me, because I cannot speak and you're the one with the words.
But like, so basically, the new Queer Eye on Netflix is surprisingly insightful, hilarious, heartwarming. Go watch it. There aren't enough episodes, but it got renewed for a season 2. I don't know when it will come back, but I can't wait.
Yeah, I know. And the thing was, we were sort of just watching it, like, and we decided to try it.
I heard random good things on Twitter and Tumblr. And I was like, I don't feel like watching Bob's Burgers anymore.
Not that it's a bad show.
For the day, not forever.
Um,
We've watched a lot of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Let's try something else. For the day.
And then we ended up finishing it, which was a real bummer.
It was.
So, like, I was looking for something else for us to watch after we finished Queer Eye, and there was, I can't remember what we watched that night. Like, when we had dinner, we were watching, it wasn't Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it was something on Netflix, I think.
I think it was Brooklyn Nine-Nine, because it was a Sunday.
Okay. We streamed the episode? When we started. No, because this was 2 days ago.
What are you talking about?
We were watching something to pass the time, and then we decided to break off and do our own thing, and for whatever reason, I was like, I want to give this show a try that's been on my list for a while on Netflix. And the show is the Santa Clarita Diet, starring Timothy Olyphant, or Olyphant-astic, and Drew Barrymore. And it's a Netflix original series, and I don't know if I can do it justice.
We're gonna try so hard, because like if you take anything away from this episode, you have to fucking watch the Santa Clarita Diet.
And there are only 10 episodes a season. There are only 2 seasons. But so far, there better be a season 3. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
So Timothy Olyphant and Drew Barrymore are realtors, because realtors aren't a thing.
It's a subtle difference.
Yeah. And they live in...
This is tits to teeth, by the way.
This is where the expression comes from. Santa Clarita, which is in California. They just they're the only realtors that really run that town. There's a rival team that also gets into some shenanigans, but I'm getting off topic. So they're a pretty normal family. He was a high school quarterback.
He was a boy and she was a girl. Can I make it any more obvious?
Classic rock. They have a kid, Abby, who's in high school. And very, very normal, average family. However, when they're showing a house, Drew Barrymore's character,
Sheila,
thank you, just vomits everywhere.
Like, so much.
Explosively, like,
all over the
hard
walls.
to watch.
I looked away.
And she, like, passes out in the bathroom. Like, she has to excuse herself from the room because they were showing the house. And then Joel, who's Timothy Olyphant, comes back and is like, holy fuck, what just happened? He thinks his wife has died. Doesn't have a pulse. Turns out she died.
There is no pulse.
There is no pulse. She is now dead.
Undead.
Because she wakes up.
Oh, sorry.
No,
spoilers.
It's okay. She wakes up, feels fine.
Feels great.
Feels like $1 million. And is just undead.
And they try to take her to the emergency room, but nobody will take them seriously. So, like, we have serious cases coming in. Your wife threw up.
Yeah, like at the base of everything,
He's like,
she just
like
threw
a
up.
lot.
And, like, this little ball comes out of her, which they think is an organ. And it's just really weird. And she starts craving raw meat. And
they also, at this point, so they can't get a real doctor to look at her. So Abby remembers the neighbor kid, Eric, has a fascination with the paranormal. So they bring Eric over. He's in high school with Abby to do an exam on Drew Barrymore, on Sheila. Yeah. And Eric is so awkward and, like, without a doubt who Matt was in high school.
Oh, for sure.
And Joel, Timothy Olyphant is who Matt is now.
Yeah, it's a real nice parallel. So
Eric's great.
Yeah.
Keep him in mind because he comes back.
So Eric basically diagnoses her as a zombie, but doesn't like to use that word because it brings a lot of negative connotations with it. And so she craves raw meat, and this is a really weird thing, and that's sort of it. But she feels so great that she starts doing all these new things, one of which is go to the club with her neighbor friends, to which a guy played by Nathan Fillion comes in, who is actually a new realtor going to be working with them, and has sort of had his eye on Drew Barrymore since they met.
And he's skeezy and gross.
Very gross, like aggressively.
Very forward, very pushy.
Yeah.
Goes to her house.
Yeah. Like, they dance, and that's fine, but then she goes home because she's married and has a family.
Right.
Like, they were just dancing, it's fine. And then Nathan Fillion comes in and is like, we're going to have sex, and that's that. And she's just like,
we aren't.
No, that's not going to happen. And he keeps pushing. She keeps saying no. And she, like...
he grabs her, I think.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, okay. And, like, starts, like, licking his fingers. And then just bites them the fuck off. Blood everywhere.
At which point we are like, ugh, I have looked away again.
It's super graphic.
There's so much gore.
Yeah. She eats Nathan Fillion.
Like, in front of you.
A lot of Nathan Fillion.
It's all over her face. It's all over the yard.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So this show is about a woman who's a zombie, just living her life, trying to survive by eating people.
Trying to keep a normal, like, relationship with her husband, a normal life for their daughter.
Because Timothy Olyphant is trying to solve, like, why this happened and, like, how we can fix it. But at the same time knowing that, you know, this is sort of their life now and they kind of have to adjust. Because, like, he loves his wife. They've been together for, like, 20 years. 23 maybe.
I think 23.
Yeah. They've been partners in selling houses together. Like, they've been high school sweethearts. So there's that special bond that they have. And now his wife eats people. And that's just a little weird.
It's a lot for him to process.
Yes.
One of the very coolest things about this show is that Tim Olyphant, whose character's name is Joel, and Abby, their daughter, they both just, like, it's so much exactly how a husband and a daughter would react if this happened in real life.
Yeah.
They take that moment to be like, what the fuck, right? She eats people. There's a dead body in our freezer. Like, they take that moment that everybody who's ever watched a movie where something weird happens, like, you always want them to be like, that's weird.
Like,
why do they just roll with that?
Yeah, like, why do they accept that as what's happening?
Right. Joel and Abby do not just accept it.
Right.
They take that moment.
Yeah, and
to which eternally grateful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Joel is just so endearing because he loves his wife and his daughter so much. And, like, he's kind of a pushover, but just very sweet, but foul-mouthed.
Yeah.
Just very sure, this might as well happen too. I just wanted a normal day.
So what happens is, like, okay, so his wife eats Gary, and then they're like, we gotta dispose of the body. And then, like, their neighbor is a cop, so they have to, like, dance around him to make sure he doesn't find out, and all this other shit that happens. And she can't go back to eating just raw meat now that she's tasted human flesh, so they have to figure out
what they're gonna do about that.
And their plan is to, well, I guess we have to, like, kill people, but I'm not really great at killing people because it's
like,
just
I think
bad.
That's a good thing.
And, like, also covering their tracks, and, like, they settle on killing only bad people and certain things like that. Like, each episode is more of how they're trying to adapt to this new world that they live in, while also being like, what the hell is happening? Like,
and, like, they find out that Abby's missing school, like, skipping school.
Yeah.
So they sit down with her to try to have a conversation, and she's like, you guys killed a person. And Joel's like, yeah, I think we lost the moral high ground here.
Yeah, because, like, once she found out, like, her mom is undead and has eaten somebody, she just figures, well, why the fuck should I do anything?
Right.
Like, why should I go to school? Like, that seems trivial.
Yeah.
Like, there's this whole new world that they have to adapt to. And it seems like Joel and Abby and Eric, no, I mean, he knows, but, like, it's not really affecting him. But,
not
like,
yet.
Joel and Abby are, like, very much trying to navigate the world, whereas Sheila, who is the undead, doesn't seem to care that much about anything.
Yeah, she is by far the least interesting character.
Which is sucky, because I sort of like Drew Barrymore. I was a sucker for her and Adam Sandler in, like, The Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates. Like, if I had a guilty pleasure movie section, those would be them.
I try not to do guilty pleasures.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if I had one, that would be that. But those are just good movies. They were also on TV so much that, like, I just know them
I've seen parts of both of them, I think.
But I don't know. She was always a sweet actress.
She's just not very compelling.
Very compelling in this. But everyone else is so compelling that I don't really care.
Yeah, even, like, fringe characters are just great.
Yeah. And just some of the places that they take the show. Like, so yeah, the gore is
over the fucking
top. Yeah.
And, like, I don't like horror, I don't like gore, so, I mean, the show sounds like it should be just this crazy horror show, but it's so fucking funny that, like, I just close my eyes for the gore, and honestly, some of it I've started just keeping them open, because it's absurd.
Yeah. But it's all of their reactions that's worth watching.
It's so funny. And, like, the direction that we thought the season 2 finale was going to go, it takes an entirely different turn. And I realized that it kind of had to, because if it went the way that I was expecting, then it would make the show much darker from there on out. But they twist it so that it's going to stay goddamn hilarious.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. We didn't really spoil anything that isn't explained to you
in, like,
right
the
off
first
the bat.
5 minutes.
Yeah. And we won't get into some of the details, but, like, Jesus, it's just such a genius show. And Timothy Olyphant is just Joel, his character of Joel. Like, I love Timothy Olyphant and a lot of the shit he's done. I first saw him in Scream 2. He was in one of the Die Hard movies. But he's a dad that's just trying to keep shit together. And he smokes a little pot to, like, relax, but, like, he's just like, well, this is why the fuck not?
He just wanted a day to build his bookshelves.
Yeah, like, that's his one goal, and every day something new happens that he has to push it back. He's like, I really wanted to get those oak shelves up, but this is what we're doing today.
Yeah, like, he had to throw away a pair of shoes that he just got that he really liked because he got brain on them.
Yeah.
Do I have to pretend to be part of a father-son seafood operation?
It's some interesting storytelling.
So funny. Like, we haven't done it justice. Like, unquestionably we haven't.
I don't know how to do it justice.
I don't either, because it defies a description, I guess.
Yeah. You know what? Maybe maybe in October, because a lot of time will have passed, we can do like a commentary of every episode.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, for like the Halloween season.
Yeah.
That way, because we've watched it, we might watch it again before then because, but then we can watch it with the volume off and then do a commentary because the show is fantastic. The writing's fantastic. The guy who created it, Victor Fresco, I haven't seen a lot of his work. He wrote a couple episodes of My Name is Earl, which is one of the things I latched onto. He was a producer on the Andy Richter show. Andy Richter is the guy that plays Carl, the realtor boss guy.
Oh.
Yeah, the big baby.
Yes.
The Untitled Johnny Knoxville Project, but I like Johnny Knoxville. Sean Saves the World with Sean Hayes.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know.
But anyway, this is the Santa Clarita Diet.
Yeah.
And it's
phenomenal.
20 episodes and worth it.
I did some Elf episodes.
And the episodes are also only 30 minutes.
Yeah, which was the other draw because I was like,
great.
I love the concept. I knew like, oh, she ate people. I thought they both did at first, going into it. I didn't really watch a trailer for it. I just read a blurb about it. And I was like, oh, she eats people. I like Timothy Olyphant.
I remember you mentioning it because I think you told me the plot.
Yeah. And I was like, I just like the concept of it. And it's a comedy. It's labeled as a comedy. So that drew me in too because horror comedy is a nice mix up because I love horror. And if they can make me laugh, that's even better.
And it's it's not particularly horror-y.
No,
there's a lot of gore, but it's not at all scary.
And in the basic concept of her being sort of a zombie, that's as far as really the horror goes.
Because I have a very, very low threshold for being scared, and it's nothing.
And then it's 30 minutes, so it doesn't feel like you're sitting in for an hour. Like
you don't have
getting this drawn out story. You just get it would be a sitcom if it was on syndicated television.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Watch
Queer Eye definitely for some warmth and delight in your life, but if you need a really fucking good show, watch Santa Clarita Diet.
Yeah, and the other reason I decided to watch it now was because I saw that season 2 was streaming, and I was like, well, fuck, I gotta get on this. And then luckily I did because season 1 ends, and I'm just like, I need more. Yeah. But then season 2 ended, and I was like, fuck, I need more.
And I was like, when is this coming back? And Matt was like, it just did.
It just came back. I'm so sorry to do that to you.
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, but definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
I will, plug it every episode from here until the end of time because it's just great.
Because we need a season 3 because of the way season 2 ended. Yeah. Also just because it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just double check my list.
Yeah, that might be it for this week.
That's all we had to talk about.
Yeah. That seems about right.
Yeah, and that was about an hour.
Yeah. So we've moved into our new place.
We like it.
Slowly decorating it. Have a lot of posters to put up.
Yeah. Start work Monday.
Yeah. At Go Ape. Cool shit.
Happy Easter / Passover, depending on your religious preferences.
And it's Good Friday.
Yep.
I don't know if you say Happy Good Friday or shit like that. I should know. I went to
Good Friday's the day Jesus died.
Yeah. Why do we call it Good Friday?
I don't know.
That's right.
Maybe it's a poor translation. We're not doing this right now.
All right, so next week, stay tuned because we'll be in a better room. Hopefully, the sound won't be bouncing off the walls because it really irritates me.
Sorry.
But I don't have a giant glass wall, and that's as much as I can hope for right now.
Or a chatty refrigerator.
Right. I just have sirens every few often.
Dope. Every few often.
Why did not you warn me?
Bye.
Once the show ends, please don't shed those tears. We'll come back again, so have no fear. Oh, we told you that it just might end up this way. What's the show called again? You cannot be saying, why didn't you warn me? Why didn't you warn me now? Why didn't Why didn't you warn me?